Between Bhutan and Bangladesh in northeast India is the state of Meghalaya, a place of great natural beauty and ecological importance. A place where it is not unusual to meet an elephant on your way to work. A place where choices must be made concerning traditional and modern ways of life. Here in this remote, hilly tribal region, one ethnic group, the Garo, have begun to show how important rural communities are when they take the lead in mitigating and adapting to climate change. The Garo Hills presents a verdant landscape, blessed with abundant water, fertile soils, and a benign climate. Home to more than 1 million people. The region is also one of the few remaining areas where it is possible to find top predators, leopards, elephants, and biodiversity of all kinds.
Ya, selvagri songni song ya. Ya ko jengo ambiat trima akcham pakachamram. Ino songdong acha jengo. Ya songni mandirang. Ya songni songnok keparap. Anchi boli oni mang iko mania. Perisi mania jangan ki nuno thocha thotkedi rabar bai songdap kerkerki donen dagi seyuri bagnaro. Daudi mani jadok. Daudi maina songsarken dong jadok na. Kristen ngan kun manja.
These villagers' ancestors have lived in and preserved these forests for thousands of years. Their traditional religion worshiped the spirits in all living things. Their legends reinforced a sense of wonder and awe about the forest. Generation after generation have loved the beauty of the natural environment and realized that it provided their food, their water, their shelter, everything that they needed in their lives.
Singade angade yang ni tingi song sasat krini kungko boreng donani di singade yara merkwanba tura tahun gemek ni an cibis kong ani gemen ada tak urut demo boreng bolgrum grade chuli jaya hani masin singa song gemek meli ya macukong song prot singi adok ni boreng damsa ko rizap taki donani singa song gemek meli in donaha maina tak urut de singa boreng bolgrum ko rakianira 지릉 집이 스나 발바랑나 알 자송니 자송난 감삿 그뽕나 바 동안이 지가 송감가 늑삼수에 야고도나.
One of their neighbors is especially appreciative. Elephants are indigenous to this region. This is perfect elephant habitat. The Garo Hills has well over 1,000 elephants, one of the highest concentrations of wild elephants in India. To have such a high density of megafauna is relatively rare in modern times and suggests a natural system of very high ecological function.
We consider elephants to be architects of the habitat. They change the habitat by their feeding, by their just movement. They open new paths for other animals to follow, and by their dung. There's a number of animals, insects and others that survive on elephant bullets, on the dung.
Elephants and people have coexisted in the Garo Hills for as long as anyone can remember, and both are integral parts of the natural system here. For the people, yet another symbol of the health and wealth of the region's ecology has been the existence of another primate in the forest, the Hoolock Gibbon.
요 맛부릉을 아키야 되면은 느경아 마이나 맛부릉 동작엔 중화대 송어바 금라 송바 동작 으로 아키요 블롱에 남그냥아 마이나 으로 마크림 그바 동작 칼레스 강원이 만디랑 강원이 잘라 니베스 강원이 잘라바 만디랑 강알봉자 원 맛부릉 블롱에 남그냥아 송나 잣나 금라 송바 동아.
There is sufficient data to state that a clear trend exists showing a marked decrease in the number of gibbons in the forest.
The gibbon population throughout India is declining at a very alarming rate. In the last 3-4 decades, nearly 75% decline in gibbon population has been reported. Through numerous surveys, reports, and repeated studies, it has been found that the gibbon population in Garo Hills is also declining, perhaps not at the same rate as the rest of the country, but definitely it's very critical and it is very detrimental for the survival of the gibbons.
The fact that the local people revere the animal suggests that this is a fairly reliable indicator that the ecosystem is deteriorating. Traditionally, the type of agriculture practiced here has been to slash and burn the hillsides, known as jhum cultivation.
The method of jhuming is basically just slash during the winter season and then let it dry, and then during March and before the onset of the monsoons it is burnt. And on the very first rains the seeds are planted and then the production starts.
The first year provides a relatively good yield, but with each crop, the productivity decreases.
Generally, a good jhum cycle is between 10 to 15 years. But here in Garo Hills, since the jhum area is decreasing, they are jhuming the same area in a shorter term. So, if they jhum the area in a shorter term, the yield is not much.
왜 제가 대와 아바데 송금간차 송금간차 송금먹차바 마이 못담에 탈거니 못담에 탈탐 못담데 탈독게 탈신바 놓고만디 방아 크리와야 근데 그 괜찮으면 이거 막나 형와야 왜냐면 그먹간 되게 방에 우주 괜찮으면 보롱보롱 와가지고 거라 왜냐면 그뭐 집어 walsho 또 괜찮은데 다우다 또 마트랑 보내 takkan 바 동점 못자 아르 지릉 집이실 거 블롱은 특방 많자 이거 전체 제대로 다데 리잡도 나네 송금은 흉한 미팅에 넌 만차적 가르다 시간에.
Change is coming to the people of the Garo Hills. They all have cell phones, and the transportation systems have improved somewhat. Electricity is promised at some point in the future. The modern world, with its shiny wrappers and promise of more stuff, beckons. But if the people go to town in search of a better life, they often only find that they don't have the skills needed to compete with the more sophisticated, better educated city people. This often means they end up taking the lowest forms of work, much worse off than they were at home.
mana tsinga nige ongen mana don thongna de man jawa mana de niba don thong jawa don thong agdan wa igino to kha saimon asimo government ba da chingni daka ko nikimang sanaba phal phiene sanaba chi sale sanaba bari bagan dakge ni khasin onat ken chimo ode namang igen ar khomiang igen mana angaba direct bonan ange naba wa khoni don thongna de man jawa niba na simangni daksakani ko manode angaba bignang jawa government ba bignang jawa mana nama igen
cireng cisamko to nakatanik nika mani dewa cisamosa miraku wa gomenda jaluk nama ni mga kana warango pangcakemeng mandirang cireng cisamko skang onin abachani gamen abacha bahat traditionally cengoni nakbani amang noni gamen jatna sona cireng cibiskit pani konki aro rang kondekin abachang koyong ode cireng cibiskrang tken aro jamano dirang sudrang na namgeni dong Jawa imung mandang masih Haagh.
Because of the destructive nature of the traditional agricultural practices that threaten this precious ecosystem, there are many individuals and organizations interested in protecting the Garo Hills. The Meghalaya Forest Department, the Garo Hills Autonomous District Council, and the Wildlife Trust of India, known as WTI, with the support of the International Union for the Conservation of Nature, IUCN, are all working together with the local communities to find a sustainable way forward.
The people are already aware that jhuming is no longer feasible because they have seen the production and they can hardly sustain their families. So they are already out for ways and means of other alternatives.
And there is an elephant in the room, as it were. Actually, there are approximately 1,300 elephants in the Garo Hills. When the elephants and the people come into conflict, it is no joke.
Azalgani cisa November ni cibri tarik Prangni sari car bajion wa anda geba obosta onga anda kim biya gesaku watang naka angni mandeni bimengara to mali menga arowa acek jatna pathia geta prang sari car bajio angcia abaci ribacep uni somayo caam geba rama au grong imengna extend onga ha Uko angni jakko sija, anga uni siako dekrikna man paja. Angni zekba nachel kenaja. Nachel kenaja ani gemen ua tos light rangko tekngen jakal ska. Aro tos light rangko ua atangni jakol nasaan jakal skaja. Ekbas ua ramarangci jakasi jakra ua nate jakalunga. Wan baksa ua mungmakho biya. Adita pit cekeng cibongani andalna sekangan ko nekacem ndiba mameng dakiba wan mungmana biya khatna aro rede khana man srapja direct nekanin biya reksrape repme uko gostape gajet chole
As tragic as such encounters are, they don't come as a complete surprise.
Tengade wan panglan nake burung sambal wani gemen tengara mungmang absan nake janggi tangani gemen tengara absan mungmani daklani koba nekaya tengaba burung baksa janggi tangoba tengaba kena janggi genang mija geta dokke galangode sootode
Idrang bate mo i aro
Baba itu kira Baba
Karam kare ya fiskal Mungmawan rako mana tumu mungmar ko
India has a population of 1 billion people, and there's a tremendous pressure on the elephant habitat and the corridors. This is the reason why there's an increase in the human-elephant conflict everywhere, and people retaliate to the elephants are very, very serious. Sometimes they poison, sometimes they spear it, sometimes they shoot it. So in order to conserve the elephants, securing elephant corridors are one of the important priority under our project.
Given the lethal nature of some human-elephant encounters, the people's tolerance is remarkable.
On the whole in India there is great tolerance for animals, for wild animals, and elephant in particular. And as I told you, in the Garo Hills they have particular fondness for this animal, who they consider almost like an elder brother. You know, they refer to the animal in those terms that they would use for their own brother or elder in their family. So there is no doubt that there is frustration, and I think it's more than frustration, sometimes I'm sure anger, because there's huge amount of direct damage that the elephant is doing, whether it's crop damage or damaging their houses or even killing people.
The land in the Garo Hills is now like a mosaic with patches of cultivation interrupting the closed canopy of the forest. Everyone wants to find a way forward that is good for the people and good for the animals.
We are working in close coordination with Wildlife Trust of India regarding the elephant projects. So our main idea is to create a corridor or a passage for elephants to traverse from one forested area to the next. So basically in between we have several villages and jhum plots. Whichever is the general path taken by the elephants, we try to secure these paths by having an agreement with the villages, by creating such corridors as village reserved forests.
안탕 전체닉 때다데 볼 아걸 빙도나 따바위 차전 남바다 쯤니아데 아바위 차오바도디 미미시 남자니기면 2층 가신 남자니기면 아바랑 쿠데 땀디 갈그 강아다 강이하 네 가신데 터미틱 보나가긴 건데 아바위 차니데 안데기시 전체야.
As human population has grown and pressure on the natural habitat has increased, it's become more and more urgent to find ways that both protect the needs of the people and preserve nature.
Over the years, what we find is that the people, the villagers, are so very eager to come forward in preserving their patch of land for conservation and for the elephants. And all they require is in turn some sort of incentive, and rightly so, because otherwise it would have been a jhum area which is productive for them. But they are giving a portion of their productive land for conservation works. So it's a great thing.
Aro itnga dura kalakko songni ya committee holo rijap ni kemen jin saro ya rijap ko dona ha sa songna ba chatana manjawa aro ya ko dona ode dijang sujang mai ko dona gen mai ko pengen chingya dokte chonorogen goba masino wachim aro ya nakino ngobong mandirang ni kenani ba bong wa jukona wa rijap dona ode aba chatana de manjawa ya arang de government jawa anching songna noknan zatna songna pungna khatepnan goba thala danirang ko nim
징후장기 탕안에 초랑데 마뭉 받은 거 바나 말고는 스타포 도잉 바 바타 오피스장 오피스를 만들었다. 내가 말때 야간 배 칭나버 발발아야 돼. 나 심막나데 바르타버 디블롭고 가쯤. 니바 나 심원 닥자. 아니 바카타스 만해로. 니바 안탐나 프로나 칭나 미롱 작콩사나 나감 부아사나 디블롭 파야 디치 칭니 대단장이 판자고.
Without alternatives to the traditional agricultural practices, it is hard for the people to survive, let alone consider animal habitat or conserving natural ecosystems.
The location of this village is crucial because it links other chunks of forests with this major chunk biosphere reserve called Nokrek. So which is why this is not only important as a catchment, but also as a link to the biosphere reserve. It's a crucial corridor for the elephants.
동겐침 어디 나가봐 타네랑 농게침 어디 비숑바 라마탕 거리게니 안천지야 아로 나겐 맛부릉랑 바 그번 질란이랑 바 자만 챈팅이랑 수단 강국게니 마디 천지야
라수 낭비도 많이 만나 인디아오 산웅자 인디아오 동 인디아니 아팔로 동급바 송랑바 안치는 닥착하니 코나 남면 구시 오뱅아 마이나 비숑 안치니 부릉 볼그랑나 구시 온차가 그분 아송랑 오데 도망자죠 그분 비합랑 오데 닉나 닉아인도 안치나 비숑 이겐 구시 온차가 부릉장 시오 동인쿠 안치네 아르바 탕탕한 이롭바 이롭인쿠아.
Actually, people around the world are depending on people like the Garo to protect their forests, because this is the best way to absorb carbon from the atmosphere and naturally regulate the Earth's hydrology, weather, and climate.
Reserve Code Kansul forest ni agan talatani ko manimu chinga ye reserve code donia dona chanchiha aro chanchim ya meeting ko chusukatanga da songni nokni mandirang plakan aro chiring chibisko reserve na dona nanganim jenma namniki songmu nokmung khomongi nangrami kamko meeting ko chusukatanga da meeting ko kha.
Hoolock is not the only community that has decided to create village reserve forests. This project has already stimulated the creation of 9 reserves, and many more communities are now positively considering this option.
Mana yidi daugta chade abachana plasm nemu yore daugta sa abara bam go버는가 chana nian yatengani chanche sumdiba daura chingni nike chancheni khoras koba dade bai government mandrang ba chingna aganda pis kitapen ani mun dade hainda ke ode an chene rijapton phna nike donnanan ge nimu chade chanchidon projok mena an chingni ba namgine wa ar government ba namgine wa ar matburung ba namgine wa mandina sanong jak kamak.
Although the communities are making decisions about their lands, they are receiving incentives to do so. These include capital investment and technical support.
Yan sarsa shua. Sarsa musia ndegen jibar singa yan hangdin ndegi mana na yan. Sak po sarsa shua. Yak gumuk sing. Na sungde ndak khali mana dinna. Nimse dauta na sung ta WH ni kita ribai mung. Nasung bagan na hayu ni kumasa ade nasung ko patak chakwa po ni mo ade akana dauta nasung tak chakchok. Mana abawian de bersih taman wan galani mo yadi chasung ni galani rong jaman di jangi thang dapat tinon kami sana mana ni kun nambat kepong air. Mana abawi cha de bola wa aku san rusian san ungaya. Jangi thang nara manja bersih gemuk chung ya chana manja. Arang san ustong abataya. Mana dak kula abri gemuk abawi bai dau bau jangi thang na mana. 아바천 닥플레 불시안티 위위바 마음 감사동전 디바 아팔 데 다우트 테신 다가 호감이찬 닝 탁나바만 바다 차나바만 바다 닝니까니 바동자바다 얘는 맞고 방어야.
The Wildlife Trust of India asked the local people what type of support they would like to receive. Sometimes this is very specific. The Aratika community asked for a motorboat.
Enake song mo kon namblongin namgine unjok bisong yaringon ani mo daude si jok jan gemon khali ar teke si jus zakhalan koro yaring dongode bazal rang rioba song nokli mande sio saneba biya dongo ogmak na altwe jangi tanonga simen rang sauba salade salenga negemang angja songni nukri mandirang ribajok bomo nina ba mahari tak berang warang tangka heno ba khapararo Harana salgabade mija simen salgabo mangsan ko. Changsa. Oba thangka mansan ko jangade.
People who have been living by slashing and burning the forest have limited employment skills. But one thing they can do is plant trees.
Sekarang kita disongko jenarang ko get niya bol sarang brana arang ko takna ikin marang ses niya ada somai ketari pana somai ketani taktelna kirang ge songi nokni manderang kak keparang mo singa niruk to sa bol sarang ko skatang get nikala aro badia bol ko brana nangai rang ko masija nim dakpa bol ko brando andita baji ni ge babu 아는 기타 바지오 암승이 탁나
중미 예리 잡고 논안에 대해 지마 안 보는 중미 리랑 수랑 이게 볼 이게 달달한 보고랑고 저하 아로 리랑나 이게 아로 성노 녹나 금그리 온겐 이니가 뭐 사야 리자 크루뽕아.
These forested areas are simply wonderful and open up the possibility of ecological tourism, which allow others to enjoy these beautiful areas and provide a potentially large alternative livelihood for forest communities. By voluntarily choosing to set aside land for village reserve forests, the Garo are doing something of immense value. They're helping to maintain elephant habitat and corridors, and they're ensuring that the water cycle is protected, reducing the threat of flooding and drought. And through photosynthesis, they're ensuring that carbon is being absorbed by the enormous amounts of vegetation that grow in the natural forests.
아기 시방어적 맛부르는 것도 마트랑 막 플라건 루아니 동제적 눈이 그러면 송한티안 담프락에 블리즈리잡 그 돈겐츠모레 또 마트랑 바 루나 만나 알아 지 맛부르는 번에 탁나 만나 내가 아기시 포롱롱 겐체도 바느루겐.
What sort of world do we want? Do we want clean water, clean air, to live in harmony with wildlife? If we do, we have to consider how to protect and conserve forests and how to support the livelihoods of those who live in and protect the forest.
아르 맛부릉 바 리잡 동겐츠 뭐데 아브리 포롱롱 겐츠 뭐데 바느루겐 원 만디니 가마고 차이나 나게겐 만디니 도나고 차이나 나겐 니바 다우타 니게 리잡 동데 막크리랑 걸 금먹간 루이먹 비숑에 볼와 비티 금먹 차이릉이 루나 만기나다 우르동어사 랑골동어사 막크리동어사 다우다 바르삭동어사 마척동어사 몽마동어사 맛마부릉동어사 물렁은 아송나 남그네 와 은이 그만 야 맛부릉을 하고데 도나낭 추무다다데 금먹 지무간 야 다리 부끄러운 사용자 녹그레코 사농자 지 송놓고 먹은 동나낭아.
Many people may be talking about the need to take carbon out of the atmosphere, but the communities of the Garo Hills are actually doing it. This model, if applied by thousands and millions of villages around the world, could end deforestation and reverse the trend by restoring vast areas of degraded lands. The world needs to recognize that it is not the bankers, the politicians, or the carbon marketers who can physically mitigate and adapt the Earth to climate changes. It is these people. Their contribution is of enormous value and needs to be celebrated, and they need to be supported.